Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Protecting Your Business in 2026, Cybersecurity Essentials for Small Business Owners, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Save the date for our next cybersecurity webinar taking place on March 31st, From Phishing to AI Scams, Cyber Risk Small Businesses Face in 2026. I'll drop the registration link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the expected large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will adjust them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Kiana Gainey. Kiana is a 20-plus year IT and cybersecurity industry veteran and has served as Chief Executive Officer for SecureTech 360, located in Springfield, Virginia, since its inception in 2010. She is also the Cyber Industry Specialist for the Virginia SBDC. Welcome, Kiana.
Thank you, Sheila, and welcome to everyone. Good afternoon. Today we'll be discussing and going a little deeper with some tips and tricks to help protect your small business as we are well into 2026. I can't believe we're almost heading into March. We'll go through some cybersecurity essentials to help you as a small business owner navigate this new landscape as new technologies are emerging and new threats along with those technologies are also emerging as well. Next slide. So again, thank you for the introduction. Today we'll just go over a brief overview about the current landscape of cybersecurity, some current risks and threats that are in the landscape. We'll end with some resources and give you some next steps and go over some questions, and then we'll end with some contact information to give you some additional information about some upcoming webinars or tips and tricks that you'll need to help navigate this new landscape in 2026. Next slide. So a little bit about myself. I'm also a small business owner. And one thing that I'm very excited about is the role here at the Virginia SBDC gives me an opportunity to speak to my fellow small business owners as we're all trying to navigate the new emerging threats and all the great advancements in technology. And so my goal here is just to make sure that you have all of the required arsenal to be able to protect your infrastructures as well. Next slide. So let's jump right in. Why does the cybersecurity matter, especially for a small business owner? I get that question a lot as a lot of new threats are emerging, and you see a lot of emphasis on cyber criminals targeting larger businesses. We see a lot of interruptions in service. I know about a few weeks ago, a friend of mine had called me and was like, "Hey, do you have Verizon? My Verizon phone is not working." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't have Verizon." And then, I turned on the news and then there was this, a lot of information about what was going on with that outage. And a lot of people were left thinking like, wow, this is, a reoccurring theme as we started to see a lot of the sophisticated tools being used to bring down larger infrastructure. So you may say to yourself, why a small business? Why would they want a small business when they can go after larger organizations? Well, the truth is that a lot of recent studies have shown that cyber criminals are also targeting businesses of all sizes, and small business owners face increasing cyber threats. We see a lot of uptick in our emails, and we see a lot of different type of threats that are trying to emerge themselves even with some of our cell phones. We see a lot of messages that are coming up that may look very close to things that we've seen in the past, but we're starting to see them more. And the other side of that is that the average small business breach cost can exceed over 100K. Now, I'm a small business owner. When I look at a number like 100K, my first note to myself would be, what can I do to protect myself so that I don't, run into these type of issues? And so one of the things is changing the mindset of what cybersecurity is, right? Cybersecurity doesn't just protect your operation, it also protects your customers, it protects your reputation. It's not just this IT thing that's away from us, it's really another business risk that we have to manage as a small business owner, right? Even if you're just starting off and you're saying, I'm only just myself, and maybe I'm using different applications and resources to be able to provide a service or provide something to my customers. Look at it as you're putting together your business plan, or if you have a business plan, it's time to take it out and dust it off and start looking at all the different risks that are associated with your small business and evaluate those risks and rank them in order of priorities. If you look at it from just that perspective, you'll start to incorporate that into your daily operations. And that's the goal, is that we consider cybersecurity just like any type of risk for our small business. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the current landscape and why this is important when you're talking about managing risk and adding these things into your business plan, into your daily operations. A lot of the different types of tools and tricks and things that these cyber criminals are using. Phishing is very big right now. We're seeing a lot of uptick with phishing emails. Those are fake emails that intent is to steal the information, to steal your information. Maybe about 2 weeks ago, I experienced this even with my own, one of my own employees. They received email that had all the correct information, but there was some misspell words and there was like a sense of urgency for them to do something outside of the platform. One, they wanted her to send them some information, some sensitive information via WhatsApp. We don't use WhatsApp for our organization to do any type of information exchange. So that was the first red flag. The second one, when we looked at the email and the body of the email, there were some misspelled words, and the email also was allegedly for me. And in the email, because she knows the way that I normally give out tasks or how we normally communicate, she just picked up the phone and we talked through it. And so why I'm giving you that scenario, that was only possible because one, I incorporated into our daily operations. We talk about cybersecurity in our staff meetings. I send out tips of the day. We talk through. We also do a lot of incident response, what to do in the event of an emergency, what to validate if there's truly is an attack, or if it's something that we need to share with the other employees so that these are things that they can learn from each other from. So those are just things that show you that in real time. Even those are things that I deal with on a daily basis. Is there always these type of phishing emails? And so once we can educate our employees and our staff and even ourselves, if you're just a party of one, you can know what to look for. It's very important as well. Another one, and this was very big, especially with, I did a lot of support work, cyber work for larger like healthcare organizations, first responders, a lot of sensitive data. And you saw a lot of attacks over the last maybe 5 to 10 years on these larger organizations. But now you're starting to see they're even using similar scenarios for smaller businesses. The intent is to lock you or keep you away or encrypt your important data. It could be things for like payments, and then they want you to pay them to unlock the information that they've encrypted for your data. So things you need to educate yourself about that and what to do in the event that something happens with that. So having an incident response plan is going to be crucial, making sure that it's incorporated into your training with your employees as well. Another one is the business email compromise. It's usually a payment invoice fraud scheme. You've seen them where they'll send an email that says, this is from, I've seen a lot of this, but from PayPal is one popular one. PayPal payment invoice, pay now. When you look at the body of the email, you can see that there's something off about the payment. And you're like, when do I have a PayPal, pending PayPal invoice, right? And so those are things that just with regular things that you know in your organization, when it seems like there's something off, take the time to investigate and then take the time to make sure you understand what to do in the event that something like that happens. Malware is a harmful software that damages system. You'll see a lot of malware attacks as well. Credential theft, stolen passwords and accounts. And so this is for all of my folks that don't want to put together a password policy that has like special characters. Now, you don't want to make it so stringent that you lock yourself out or make it so, you know, so complicated that you forget it and you have to write it down and you have it somewhere that someone can easily, gain access to it. So think about those things. There are some also password managers that are on the marketplace. I know some people that use LashPass as one, just to name as many on the marketplace, but that could be another tool that you can use to store your passwords. But do your research and make sure that that's the best option for your organization. But that is something that I've seen some small businesses or even medium to large size businesses use as well. Next slide. So let's talk about, since we talked earlier about how cyber is really a risk management, business risk management tool that we need to use to be able to protect our infrastructures. Let's talk about the business impact if in the event that a cyber incident happens. Organizations, they lose revenue if your business is disrupted in any shape, form, or fashion. The recovery investigation costs, customer trust and reputation damage is probably number one off of this list. A lot of folks, you can lose, your customer base if you are not doing the things that you need to protect your business. Think about yourself. I always say I put myself in the shoes of the consumer. You wouldn't go into and use your credit card in a place that you walked in and the credit card machine looked a little damaged or looked a little shifty, or if you saw that, the person that was taking your credit card was looking like they wanted to, take a picture of it, or some things that just looked a little off. So think about that as the opposite, as someone who is providing a service to their customers. You want your customers to have confidence that the information or anything that they're entrusting you with, that you'll be able to protect it as well. And for any of my organizations that have a lot of legal and regulatory requirements, there can also be consequences. I have supported smaller organizations. One in particular, I had a private mobile nurse practitioner who did a lot of services in the Florida region area. And she had a new employee that she onboarded. She gave them a laptop. A couple of things before she hired us on to help with some of the issues. And long story short, the employee left the laptop at their child's soccer game. Not something that was nefarious, not something that, she intended to do, but that laptop ended up having a lot of customers' information. And so not only did she had to inform all of her clients that the laptop was missing, she also had to worry about what if there was any additional issues or things that will come up that someone can get from that laptop. And so one of the first things we did is that we looked at her complete infrastructure and we talked about everything from, was this employee trained? Did you have encryption on the laptop? Was there things that you could have put in place? One thing that did save her is that she did have cyber risk insurance. And so we were able to use the cyber risk insurance to help with some of the recovery costs. But this is just an example. A lot of it could have just been simply if the laptop was lost and she had encrypted encryption software on the device, and we could have been able to encrypt that laptop from another device, and then we could have also used a remote wipe to wipe the data that was on the laptop. So these are just things that you can think about for your organization, because those are very important. And then think about the operational downtime and the loss if you do have something or you're impacted by a cyber incident. So incidents can create financial, operational, and even reputation damage, things that sometimes don't necessarily have a cost associated with it, but it could probably affect how you do business in the future. So these are things to take into consideration as well. Next slide. So another big one is managing your vendor and third-party risk. Vendors who may have access to your systems or data, is very important that you have some type of agreement. If there's no agreement, if they do have like privacy policies or things in place, make sure you read those. Because if a third-party breach does happen, it could impact your business. So you want to know, as someone that's using these services, what you need to do in the event that something happens. There's cloud services that you probably use to create, or maintain your infrastructure. There is a shared responsibility. So there may be some responsibilities from the provider that is providing you the service, but then there's also the responsibility of you as the person that is providing the service to your customers. Use things like limit your vendor access to only what is necessary for them to complete the work that they're doing for you, right? That's that least privilege. Least privilege says the function of the work that needs to be done should only have the person, of people, or thing should have access to that thing, and limit that as well. So if I work in accounting, I don't necessarily need access to HR documents, and vice versa. So make sure that's, and even with your employees, and even with some of the resources within your organization, limit the access to who has it. That's another best practice that you can use in your organization. And also review any vendor security practices regularly. They do change, so make sure that you're doing that. For us, I do like a monthly review of some of my policies and procedures. I also do like a annual review, and then some, depending on some of our regulatory bodies, we have to do them on a quarterly basis as well. So your security is only strong as your partners, but it's only the partnership is one thing, but also making sure your customers are protected as well is also a very important priority as well. Next slide. So a couple of data protection and privacy basics. If you are collecting, this is for anyone organization that's collecting sensitive data, which can include everything from social security numbers to personally identifiable information. If you're doing healthcare, that could be some PHI data as well. Identify what the data is, what's your need, and how you're going to collect it, store it, what are the requirements. Again, if you have some regulatory bodies, make sure that you review those regulatory bodies and make sure you understand what your part in it is, right? And document this as well. Think about how to protect your customer, the end user, your employee information. Limit access to sensitive data. I think I covered this a little bit in the last slide, but limited access to sensitive data is very crucial, but it's also very critical, and it's a best practice. Store data in a secure manner. If you have a way to secure your data, that could be encrypting the data as you're passing it from one place to the next. And that could be something that's simple. It doesn't have to even be, additional software. You can do something as simple as putting a password on a document that have some sensitive information, and maybe sending the document in one email and then using another method to send over the password, maybe through a text message, and then send over or pick up the phone. I still believe in picking up the phone and calling the person, that the attended person that you're sending to let them know that the information is coming. That doesn't cost anything. That's just simple practices that you can put into place. And then think about, if you have data that is very critical to your organization, making sure that you back up that data regularly. Outside of backing up the data, one of the biggest things, number one, and this is regardless of size, test those backups regularly. Test them to make sure that you're backing up as intended. One, there's that the data hasn't been corrupted in any way, and maybe even to look and see, maybe you're starting off with incremental backups, and then you realize I need to do this on a monthly basis, or I need to do this on a daily basis. Review those backup policies that you have in place regularly as well. And then also follow any privacy and data protection requirements. If you are, have some regulatory bodies that you have to adhere to, make sure you're following those as well. If your business depends on your data, it's your job to protect it. So putting just these small little things in place is, step one in protecting that data and creating an environment that you are securing your infrastructure and the data as well. Next slide. Oh, go back. Okay, yep. So I know we went over a lot, and sometimes you're like, okay, you just covered a lot. I'm new to all of this. How do I get started? Just go through some practical tips for you today. Put yourself on a 30-day cybersecurity action plan, and it can include anything, just one step at a time. What is the most important things in my infrastructure? What can I start improving today? It could be as simple as, do I need to implement um, uh, onboarding training that has some type of security uh, tips and tricks for my employees? Do I need to think about what should I enable multi-factor authentication on some of these accounts? Do I need to put multi-factor authentication on my devices? Will that be something that I can, put on a plan to do later on? If there are things in place that I can do differently, if I have something in place, maybe it's time for me to review that as well. Think about what type of training you can, use to help your employees recognize phishing attacks. I like to use my staff meetings as a way to regularly discuss um, phishing attacks or any type of cyber related attacks. I also am a big fan of making sure my employees are onboarded with that information as well. I have rules of behavior on what to do in the event that something happens so that they are, have some information on what to do from day one. And then also, if it's something as simple as maybe it's time to do a review on who has access to your business data. If you have open access to like maybe shared folders or shared drives, maybe limiting that access to the function or the role that the person is doing for your organization, not necessarily keeping it open. So review those as well. If you have regular updates about system updates, maybe implementing automatic system updates where necessary so that you can put yourself on a regular schedule. If you have I have had some organizations, they'll schedule like a change control or update window at 5 o'clock on Thursdays. And that's just their window to do any updates. And then they also, use that time if they need to roll something back if something happens, because you can do that in a controlled manner as well. Just putting together a regular way to do that is also a great way to be a part of this 30-day cybersecurity action plan. And again, test and verifying those data backups is very key as well. And then create a basic incident response plan. It can just be as simple as putting together emergency contacts, vendor contacts, who to contact, when, what, and how, who will be the first line or the first person that needs to be contacted in the line. I even go as stringent of um, putting together a schedule based on like the priority of what to do with certain things that are critical to our infrastructure, making sure that those things always get, if there was something that needs to be brought from a backup, let's say um, if the work that I'm doing requires me to use certain data, those would be the first backups that I would do versus if it's something that could wait later on. So think about those things when you're putting together your incident response plan. It's small steps and it can be baby steps. It doesn't have to be something that you have to feel like I have to do all of this starting tomorrow. No, take small steps will help reduce. The key is you want to reduce the risk because that will help you in the long run. Next slide. So, just a couple of key takeaways. Cybersecurity is for your business to survive in this, I like to call it unprecedented times. We're in a age where we're seeing a lot of innovations in technology. Everything mostly has an IP address, from your refrigerator to your cars, to even your vacuum cleaners. Like everything has some form of IP, or that can get on the internet. And those all those type of devices, although they bring a lot of wonderful conveniences to our life, even the evolution as we're seeing, we're living in the AI age where people are using AI, which is a great thing. But think about your business and how it relates to some of the advancements in technology, and think about what would my business need to survive with these advancements in technologies. Not just looking at it just like this is an IT issue, but think about from the people that you hire, from the vendors that you use. Am I prepared in the event that there's an emergency? How will my business survive if, we're not thinking about incident response, and we don't have a plan, and we don't know what backups will be critical, or what backups should we be testing regularly? Think about all those different things, because that's going to help you as we're navigating these unprecedented times. And realize that it's not just large organizations that are being attacked. Small businesses are now, there's a lot of studies out that are showing an uptick of numbers with small businesses that have frequent targets, are now frequent targets of cyber attacks. And so putting together simple security practices will not only reduce your risk, but it will also improve your overall business and your survival of your business. Protecting your data helps you protect your infrastructure, your hard work. I know as a small business owner, we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the work that we do for our clients and for our employees. And so we want to protect those things. And so, putting some small things in place will definitely help reduce your risk. We have a couple of tools and resources that we'll make available to you to help you put together that incident response plan. You're saying, where do I get started? How do I put together that 30-day action plan? I don't even know where to start. I don't have any templates. I don't have, anything in place now. We'll give you some resources to help you with that as well. Next slide. So again, can't harp on this enough. No business is too small to be targeted. Cyber threats are evolving, but they're manageable. The biggest thing that we can do is raise our awareness about them, to keep ourselves educated about the new trends. For myself, my friends always say I'm a little extra, but because of the industries that I work in, I created Google alerts so that I'm always kept abreast of any type of trending topics as it relates to the customers I support, the tools that I use, the things that I need to make my business, grow. I'm always trying to stay abreast of those as well. And that's just a little tip that I do with the Google alerts. Doesn't cost me anything. It just gives me information so that I can build my awareness, and that I can build those basic controls to stop, or to educate myself and my employees on what these attacks will look like. And so, like in the instance where I shared about the email that was sent to my employee, that was a great exercise. And we use that as a teachable moment for our other employees to understand that, one, we want to create a culture where people can feel comfortable with coming forward and letting us know what things are happening, right? And then we create a culture where we want them to understand that, being proactive, having being is very key to our survival. So preparation is key. Implementing those proactive measures, doing those regular audits of your organization, employee training. This is like number one that you can do regardless of your size. I've seen this be a problem for large organizations all the way down to the small, small, small. And even if it's just training yourself, yes, and it's just me and one other person, start with you and that one other person. And then having that incident response planning is very key to minimizing risk as you go along, as your business is growing. And then implementing those practical steps, as far as employee training, and creating that culture where the employees understand that cybersecurity is not just about IT. It's really about us managing business risk for our organization. Next slide. So let's step through this. You're saying, okay, I got this information. So what's next? Here's a couple next steps. Start with your basic security improvements. What can I do today? Put together some training, use any available resources and templates that are provided to you. Look for ways to continue to improve your security posture, protect your business, one step at a time. It doesn't have to be things that you have to do overnight, but doing a review, taking this time just to review what you currently have in place and things that you can do to improve your posture will be very key in you reducing your risk in the future. Next slide. So in conclusion, cybersecurity is a must. It is a must. It is here. It is a must for every small business, regardless of the size. Securing your business protects your data. It builds customer trust and it strengthens your long-term resilience. I know we want to build a business that will be able to be sustainable through all different trends, through all different, through unprecedented times. We want to be able to have those long-term solutions in place to help us, prepare for the unexpected, have a response plan. If you have the budget, invest in things like a cyber insurance. I gave you the example of the mobile practice that it wasn't something that was nefarious. It was something that just an employee just left their laptop at a soccer game. But the items that we needed to do to clean that up, the cyber insurance was definitely key in helping that as well. Knowing your emergency contacts can save you time and money. It can be as simple as writing them down and storing them, in another place outside of maybe on a shared drive. I like to print them out and I have a copy at home. So in the event that something happens and I'm not at my office or at my desk, then I can be able to implement and know who to call in real time. You know, um, Progression, it beats perfection anytime. So the more that you just take this and eat the elephant one bite at a time and not try to do everything overnight, putting together that plan that start with a 30-day action plan is the best way, the best route to implement these small steps into your organization. You'll definitely see the reward for it. Next slide. So any questions?
We do have a couple of questions that have dropped in.
Okay.
The first question is, what are some details that I should inquire about when hiring a software programmer, or shopping for encrypted data software?
What's some detail? Okay, I would definitely look for references because and look for someone if you are looking to hire someone that they have industry knowledge about the work that you're doing because there, you have, always, I know that everyone's a jack of all trades and everyone can do everything, but you definitely want someone that is skilled to be able to meet the needs of your business, right? And so I like to use references. Do a if they have references or professional references that they can provide you, definitely call them to make sure that they are someone that can handle what your business may need. If you're shopping for encrypted data or software, if you're looking for a program that can provide that, I think I'm trying to, or is that two separate questions?
Let's see, I'll read it again. What are some
Okay.
details should I inquire about when
Mhm.
hiring a software programmer or shopping for encrypted data software?
Okay, so on the latter, if you're looking or you're in the marketplace for an encrypted data software, definitely again, I am I believe in the testimonials and I look through the comment section to see about other people's experiences. But do your research to make sure that whoever you're hiring or whatever software that you're going to deploy into your infrastructure, that one, it meets the needs of your business requirements. If it's like, I know some of my healthcare organizations that I support, they have regulatory requirements that say that it has to have this type of encryption. It has to have AES encryption. It has to be over this type of bit. So make sure that you have all of that information. So gather all the requirements that you need and make sure that whoever you're hiring or whatever software that you're in the marketplace for, that it meets those needs, because that's going to be critical in you narrowing down the best resource for your organization.
Great. We have two more questions at the
Mhm.
moment. The next question, what do you recommend for secure emails or text? For example, Proton Mail, Signal, WhatsApp, other tools or platforms?
Those are all great platforms, but I always err on the caution of not giving like a specific vendor, because depending on what your needs for your organization is going to be critical. If you're just, wanting something just to secure your emails or even your text messages, I know some folks use WhatsApp. They do have end-to-end encryption within WhatsApp, but depending on what the information that you're sending back and forth, you want to be very careful with that as well, because that will be considered a third party outside of your organization. I think we covered that in the presentation, that when you're using any type of third party vendors, make sure you read the privacy policies and understand how your data is going to be protected. Although they have the encryption that is available that will give you the solution to what you're looking for, you want to make sure that you understand how that's going to protect what you need, right? Because just because I can sell you 20 different locks, but if that's not going to be the correct lock for the door that I've already chosen, then the lock is not going, it's not going to be it's going to be worthless to me. So make sure you do your research on that as well. But yeah, there are a lot of things on the marketplace. Use the customer testimonials if they have a way that you can look for, what some folks use as different use cases, because that's key too. Everyone's not a one size fit all for the tools and platforms that you choose.
And Kiana, I know you're wonderful about providing information in the follow-up email that we'll send out.
Yes.
This next question is, do you have any small business cyber ready checklists for self-assessment?
Yes, so we will definitely get that out to you when we send out the slides. But some great sites that we have, I love CISA, I love the SBA. We also have some great resources on our website as well. But yeah, here we go. There's a couple of sites here. I know I talked about training. If you just want something that is user friendly, low cost, no cost. Here's some resources as well. I like low cost, no cost. I always start there first. The Federal Trade Commission also does a wonderful job. They have some great checklists as well that you can utilize to help as a checklist. We talked about that 30-day action plan. This will definitely help you with the uh, implementing that 30-day action plan for your organization.
Next question, what encrypted email platforms can you suggest?
So this, I'm gonna say this too. I don't necessarily like to recommend one type of vendor. It really depends on what you need the encrypted email for. Because if you are just using regular Outlook 365, they have embedded features within the Office 365 that you can use to encrypt or secure your email. So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy additional third party email or use additional third party email platforms. You'll be surprised that a lot of the apps that you're using today have built in security features. I would start there first. And if you need something specific based on, like, if you have a regulatory body that requires you to have a certain type of encryption for the emails that you're sending back and forth, um, there are a lot of things on the marketplace that you can use, but make sure that they're going to meet the needs of your use case. If you're sending and sharing client information, I think that's the next. Yes.
Mhm.
If you're sending and sharing client information, essentially, if it's going to be something like passwords or uh, social security numbers or anything that is private as well, you can simply even do what I suggested earlier. You can secure the actual document within the email, put a password on that document, send the codes on another method, or pick up the phone. I like picking up the phone too, or send it over your text message. That could be a way that you can send and share client information, or you can put it on a secure share drive, secure the share drive, send the link to the individual, have them only have access to that drive. So there's things that you can put in place. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to use a third party email. It's more about identifying the use case for your organization, thinking about how you want that information secured, and then putting things in place that doesn't cost you anything but just a process. That's a good way to be able to describe what I would do if I was a small business owner just looking for a solution to get started.
Thank you, Kiana. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have any other questions at the moment, so we have a little bit of time. So if you have a question, go ahead and drop it into the Q&A box right now, and we'll pick Kiana's brain before we hop off.
Yes. And then again, some of these links and resources that are here, definitely take advantage of them, look through them. They have a wealth of information. I know we talked a little bit about phishing emails, but that's one of the most popular attacks that you're seeing. There's a whole phishing.org website that covers all of that. It gives you some additional training. Um, Training is going to be key with a lot of the attacks that you're seeing out there now in the marketplace. Um, and use these resources to be able to build that 30-day action plan to help you as you're trying to figure out like what to do with your organization. I think is be very key with building a very secure posture for you moving forward.
Let's see. We do have a question that just popped in. Are there security concerns specific to working on Macs versus Windows-based computers?
There's not one over the other. I mean, I know some people it's more of a preference thing. I mean, in the past, a lot of folks that were like my heavy programmer folks that wanted like heavy graphics, or they definitely lean more towards using a Mac. And then you've had folks that have been using, I'm gonna date myself all the way from Windows XP to now. There has been so many advancements in the technologies for both. There are a lot of embedded security features for both that you can utilize. Depending on what your use case is and what you're using the device or the application for. Um, so I wouldn't say one over the other, just making sure that you use and find out the pros and cons based on what you need for your organization. If you're just looking to just like the last use case, she just wanted to be able to send and have a method to be able to get information back out to her clients and vice versa. Look through the applications that you're using and look at some of the features that they have already embedded. There are third party things that you can use, but you'll be surprised. I mean, a lot of folks, they're like, I didn't even know that those are all the capabilities. And there are so many, it's endless. And so start there, use those first, and then as you grow and as your use cases increase, as different risks are introduced into your organization, then do your due diligence and research before you onboard a third party application to assist with some of this.
Kiana, thank you. You've given us many words of wisdom, but we don't have any other questions right now, so I'm going to ask for some last words of wisdom.
Okay. So, just to sum it all up, cybersecurity is not just, this cool thing that runs alongside of IT. It is really another form to manage the risk in your environment. Think of it as another mechanism that you'll need to put into place to secure your data, your information, and protect your reputation as you're growing. Um, you don't want to, think about yourself. I put myself in as a consumer. I would not want to give my credit card over to, a store that I walked inside of and it looked a little shady, and then the machine looked shady and the people looked shady. Not somewhere that I would want to, give out something that has a connection to my finances that I work for. So think about that as you're putting together your cybersecurity 30-day action plan for your organization. Put yourself in the place of the customers that you provide a service to, and think about the ways that you can protect them and their journey with you as they're entering your world and you're providing them this amazing service.
Fabulous.
Mhm.
Thanks, Kiana. And I want to
Thank
thank
you.
everyone who joined us today. As a reminder, you are going to receive an email with a link to the recording and to the slides and all the fabulous other resources that Kiana will put together. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBD resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we hope to see you all at our next session.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too, Kiana. Bye-bye.